as far as city council goes, and we talk about, one of the buzzwords this election is, jobs. You hear that a lot from candidates. But what can you do at the city council level to help with jobs or to help with economic development?
Well, I just mentioned that I think that our focus should be about what the product looks like and how clean it is and the quality of life that makes up the aura of Fort Wayne. I've heard people say that government can't create jobs. Well, you can, in a way. Sure, going out with a strong economic development program and bringing businesses back into town, getting world headquarters established here, a new factory coming in, those things are great. And you expend millions of dollars and maybe they're going to hire 50 people. Well, it didn't help your unemployment all that much. So we need to be very careful about how much tax abatement we give unless we're getting something in return, and make sure the business is adhering to the agreement that was made to get the tax abatement. One of the things I'd like to look at from the city council standpoint, and it deals with the unemployment thing, is to go back and do some research as to the cause and reaction of the social programs that FDR came out with at the end of the Depression. He put a lot of people back to work that were unemployed, standing in bread lines and soup lines and all that kind of stuff. And he did it by using them on works or on utility type programs, public programs. It was called the WPA, Works Progress Administration. And these young men that got jobs from the government, were paid by the government, went to work and built parks, built buildings within established parks, national parks. They built lodges and those kind of things. They made and built and straightened out spillways and made short dams and built wildlife habitats, all to get them back to working for the common good, for the public good, and brought the United States out of the Depression. Fort Wayne has a whole wealth of those kind of structures. All of the city parks have a stone building, a pavilion of some kind in it, a lot of heavy timber construction, all built by the WPA. The little creeks and some of the rivers, embankments, and the spillways that you see were built by the WPA people. Trees were replanted in the reforestation program by a WPA project called the Civilian Conservation Corps. These young men went out and planted trees in the wild. They lived in camps. Didn't get paid a whole lot. They got paid what the wage was of the day. The important thing was thousands and thousands of men went to work, and the public reaped the benefit. Somebody's going to say, well, that's slave labor. If you force me to go do that, yeah. But if you say, I've got a job available, and it's going to be working on a street department with a little push cart going down the street and making sure the streets are swept and clean, and there's no paper rattling around in the parks, you got to stick with a nail on it, and you're going to beautify. You're going to help paint this. You're going to work on painting over graffiti on the elevations or on sides of buildings. And the important thing here to keep in mind is it's giving people jobs that don't have jobs right now. I'm not sure, and something we have to find out is if I put 500 people to work on public projects in the city of Fort Wayne, how's that going to affect them on an unemployment status? Can they still get unemployment benefits because they're not really working on a long-term program? This is more of a, I'm not going to go out and hire a contractor from out of state to come in and do something when I've got 10% unemployment in my town. I want to give my people that chance first. So I want to work really hard on something like that. Try really to see if we can make something of that nature that matches all the laws, and nobody gets all upset and looks at the good of the fact that we just put 5,000 men to work, men and women. And the end result is the city is going to reap the benefit. You know, storefronts that have been closed, these people go in and they wash the windows. They sweep out the debris. Maybe they cover the inside with some fabric or something so it just doesn't look like an old, empty, dusty, junky building. Sweeping the sidewalks, power washing them if you have to. Something that the city and the citizens are going to ultimately get some good out of.
Okay. Let's talk about the legacy Fort Wayne, which is the proceeds from the Light Lease Trust Fund.
Right.
What do you think about the process that's going on? Any ideas on, you know, what the end product should be, where we should go with the money, if we should spend it, save it, invest it? What do you think?
I attended a couple of those meetings. Number one, I wanted to see what the process was about. And as you go there, you actually get to sit at the table and put your ideas in, and began to listen to a lot of ideas in that whole big room full of people that all went off into little workstations to work on individual ideas. So the general population had a chance to come in and talk about it. All right, here we got this pile of money. And it's a long-term thing if we do it right. Here's my favorite project. I want to extend the bike paths into the Waynedale area. There's some out there, but they're not connected, so I want some money spent for that. Okay, good idea. Another person says, I want to do this, I want to do that. I look at it this way. I look at that as found money. It's money that we could spend right now and pay off some of the debt the city has. Even though you shouldn't pay it all off, you got to have some debt for good business. And then the money's gone. I would rather see, it's invested now, but I would rather see that money actually be seed. It's invested. It's put into a safe, interest-bearing somewhere. The interest that it generates is what we use for projects. And the seed continues to grow, continues to make more money. And so we don't have a lot to begin with. You start off slow, being able to met it out, but eventually it's going to double in size, and that'll double in size, and we'll have this seed money still generating funds long after the lease sale, the whole deal is over with. Some of the money to go out and go into a pool that an entrepreneur coming in can borrow that money, not just as a grant, but he borrows that money at a 1 or 2%, very low interest rate. You want to help that individual get this business started. He has to pay back, so that money comes back in. You've made 1 or 2% off of it right there. Business wins, the city wins. Use it to help in the cleanup process I talked about a few minutes ago. Work with neighborhood associations. We want this town to sparkle. Your sign that announces your neighborhood is kind of looking a little ratty. How about if the city gives you some paint and brushes and stuff like that, if you guys will paint your sign? So very little money expended, but the neighbors in that association get feeling of pride going out there and making their sign look pretty, and landscaping, looking at it all night. Now they're happier to live in that neighborhood. And somebody coming in and driving through town doesn't see one neighborhood with wrought iron entrance and the next one that the sign's fallen down or there's no sign at all there, and to bring that public pride back up in your town. So some money can be used for that. Certainly some money of that can be used to clean up and to look at a river beautification project. And we need to look at a lot of thought going into beautifying the rivers. I'd like to see some of it used possibly for enhancing passenger rail service to get back on. Why is the second city the size in the state of Indiana, you have to drive 20 miles north to wait alongside a railroad track to catch a passenger train? You know, we've got the yards and the shops right here in the New Haven area. Why not in between put in a rail station, a depot for passenger service? let's look at it. Let's look at the possibility of maybe some monorail system. Because of the cost of gasoline and that sort of thing, people could park at Southtown Mall, catch the L, go downtown to work, go back to Southtown Mall to go home, or Jefferson Point, or out in Aboit, or New Haven, have a terminal there, farther up north at DuPont and places like that. Eliminates a lot of cars downtown, gets the workers back and forth, gives you a way to get downtown for the events and the entertainment in the evening without having to worry about your car. And the thought I'd like to look at is an elevated system that's elevated over an existing street. You don't have to acquire land. You got the park strips already. Put a monorail system so the monorail hangs over the street, goes where you gotta go. Just some thought, you know. Mm-hmm. But the main thing is I don't want to see us take the money and say, "Oh, goody," and spend it. We'll just let's make it into seed. Let's long-term stuff off of it.